What is mathematical logic? Mathematical logic is the study of valid reasoning. So it deals with the methods of reasoning that provides rules and techniques to determine whether an argument is valid or not. Okay? So you have what we call your premises and conclusion. Those are parts of your argument. And then, so you have your premises of an argument. They are supposed to be in support of your argument, and they are the reasons to believe the conclusion. So your argument can be classified according to how strong the relation of support between the premises and the conclusion. There are two main differences, the structure and the strength. Also, types of argument, we have what we call your deductive and your inductive reasoning. When we say deductive, you have from general to specific. For example, the generalization here is all dogs are animals. So my dog is an animal because all dogs are animals. No? So this is a deductive reasoning. All dogs are animals, so my dog is an animal. The other one is all men are mortal. I am a man, therefore I am mortal. Okay. So we also have your inductive reasoning to make a general. You make a general conclusion based on specific premises. So every object that I release from my hands falls to the ground. So lahat daw. Therefore, the next object I release from my hand will fall to the ground. The strength of an inductive reasoning, if the premise is true, the conclusion is more likely to be true. But it could also be false. No, not necessarily true. Let's have this example. I have met a lot of MSU IIT students and they are all women. Or pwedeng sabihin, every MSU IIT student I have met so far is a woman. So, ang conclusion ko, so the next MSU IIT student I will meet will be a woman. That premise can be true, but the conclusion may not always be true. Why? It can happen that the next one that I will meet will be a man, even if lahat ng na-meet ko before are women. So the validity of an argument would rely on the following. You should have, if the premises are true, then the conclusion must be true. That is for your deductive argument. It will be valid if you have the premises are true, then the conclusion should be true. For an invalid argument, you have several types later on, which we will discuss. Okay, an argument is sound if it is valid and has premises which are true. How do we test the validity? You have to consider the form of the argument, whether it is possible for the form to have true premises and false conclusion. We have what we call your Euler diagram. What is the use of your Euler diagram? This will give us a visualization of the validity of your deductive argument. So it's essentially the same thing as your Venn diagram. So you draw the Euler diagram is based on the premises of the argument, and the argument is invalid if there is a way to draw the diagram that makes the conclusion false. Okay, let's have an example. So if the argument is valid if the diagram cannot be drawn to make the conclusion false. If the premises are insufficient to determine the location of an element or a set mentioned in the conclusion, then the argument is invalid. What do we mean by this? Okay, let's take a look. All cats are mammals and the tiger is a cat. So all cats daw are supposed to be mammals. Tapos ang tiger daw is a cat. We all know that, no? A tiger is a cat. Therefore, the tiger is also a mammal. So, anong premises natin? All cats are mammals. So, lahat ng cats na belong siya sa mammals. So, pasok natin siya sa loob ng ito, mammals yan, ito, mga cats yan. A tiger is a cat. So, ang tiger, na belong siya dito sa cat. Okay, so sa loob niya yan. Therefore, ang tiger is also a mammal. So, by deduction, we have the following. How about this? The premise is all firefighters know CPR. Okay? So, natay mga firefighters, okay, know CPR. Jill knows CPR. So, si Jill knows CPR. Dito. Then you conclude that Jill is a firefighter. Dili siya pwede, di ba? Kasi pwede na si Jill knows CPR, pero dili siya firefighter. So it's not necessarily true that your conclusion that Jill is a firefighter. Okay? So kaya hindi, pwede man siya diri. Pwede man siya nga, pwede siya firefighter, pero pwede po siya nga dili na kabalo lang siya mag-CPR. If you studied well, then you pass the exam. You studied well, so you pass the exam. Okay, let's take a look at this argument. Tingnan natin. Pero ang gagamitin natin this time is your truth table. Okay? If you studied well, so let B represent you studied well. So B represent you studied well. So B. Then, you pass the exam. Ang S natin, you pass the exam. S. You studied well. Ano yung you studied well? S yan. Tapos, ang conclusion, you pass the exam. So, you pass the exam. You studied well is B. I'm sorry. You studied well is B. Ano, B. You studied well. You pass the exam. So, the conclusion is S. Okay. Palitan ko kaya ito ng ink para mas maklaro. Then, you felt, yan. Okay, red. So, gawin natin B. Ito, dito ko. B. Yan, klaro. B, you studied well. BS. So, ito yung argument natin. B implies S. Okay. Premise. Another premise. This is the first premise. B implies S. The second premise is you studied well. So, and, it's the second premise, and you studied well. So, the second, you studied well is B. Okay? And B. Okay? Yan. Ang anong conclusion natin? You pass the exam. Implies, this is you pass the exam, S. Yes. We know that it will be valid if tautology ang lalabas. Diba? So, let us check. Dalawa lang statement, so mean to say, apat na rows. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then, true, false, true, false. And then, B implies S. Ito, di ba? True implies true will give us true. True implies false is false. False implies true is true. False implies false is true. And, so it is our N. Diba ang B natin, dito ko nalang lagyan ko ulit dito kasi medyo malayo yung tingnan. So, true, true, okay, false, false. So, true implies true. I'm sorry, not implies N. True and true is true. False and true is, anong false and true?
False.
False.
False, ma'am.
True and false?
False, yeah.
False,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay. True and false?
False,
False, ma'am.
So, implication. Let us take a look at S. Ang S is, tingnan. So, ito ha. Ito yun. Tingnan natin. Ang S natin, sulatan ko ulit dito. That is true, false, true, false. Okay? So, this one. True implies true is
True.
True, ma'am.
false. Okay? False implies false implies false. What is false implies
True.
false?
True, ma'am.
True.
Okay. False implies true.
True. True, ma'am.
True.
Ma'am.
False implies false. True.
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 True,
True,
ma'am.
Anong
True,
answer
ma'am.
ito? Final answer. Ang
Tautology.
final answer is all true. Meaning to say, it is a tautology. It is supposed to be what? Valid. Diba?
Valid.
So, valid yung inyong atong valid siya. Okay? Sige. Now, ayan yan. Yung ginawa kanina. So, you have this. B implies S and B implies S is this one. All true. Okay, yeah, all true.